Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to iTalk Movies here on the Popcorn Talk Network. Today, I'm thrilled to be interviewing writer-director Dustin Guy Defa about his wonderful ensemble comedy, Person to Person, so stay tuned.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk, we talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's iTalk Movies.
Ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned at the top, this is Popcorn Talk Network's interview series, iTalk Movies, and I'm so thrilled to have Dustin Guy Defa here in studio. Dustin, thank you for being here today. Just so you guys know, my name is Jeff Graham. If you want to find me online, you can do so at Jeffrey C. Graham. Dustin, let the people know where they can find you online if they want to connect with you.
I am on Twitter, and I'm on Instagram.
At your name, right?
Yep.
At Dustin Guy Defa. Perfect. Dustin, I really liked this movie. For those listening who haven't seen the movie, can you give us maybe like a 1-minute kind of log line as to what they are going to see when they want to go see the movie?
Yeah, like you said, it's an ensemble, mostly comedy.
Mm-hmm.
And it takes place in one day. There's a lot of people, a lot of locations, a lot of characters, and a big variety of people, and different storylines, some of them interweaving, some of them not. And they're going to see, they've got the Michael Cera, they've got the Abbi Jacobson, and they've got a lot of non-actor people, all intermeshed.
Yeah, and I think I want to talk about the ensemble component to the movie because I love ensemble movies, I love ensemble comedies, and there's something especially I feel like about New York that lends itself well to an ensemble movie. Can you talk both on kind of writing an ensemble film, maybe some of the both advantages and challenges that presents, and then maybe also kind of how New York informs that?
I mean, I was really interested in exploring the interconnectedness of New York City, and how you are always connected even if you don't even talk to anybody, or you're just there. There's some kind of, I would say, very condensed. It feels like there's like the butterfly effect is very condensed there. I think I think you're being affected by people and you don't even know that you are so much. There's so much going on and so many people in such a tight space. I wanted to play with that. I wanted to play with my just attraction toward the drama that happens when you're just walking down the street, everything you see, and the feeling of how many stories are are just happening. And I love watching people and wondering what their lives are like and really what their stories are. And so, I wanted to collect this. I wanted to collect a variety of people, use some people that my friend Benny was, the main impetus of thinking about the movie. I wanted to work with Benny again. I made a short film with him. And I wanted to use a lot of other people that I already knew. I didn't know who the more professional actors would be, but I knew I was going to fill the movie with a lot of people that I already knew, and I was very excited to put them into a movie. And so, I was exploring all those things and just filling up the movie with lots and lots of characters, which got very exciting. Yeah,
and the thing that impressed me so much was all of these characters held such distinct spaces in the movie, and I think sometimes you go see an ensemble movie and you have trouble like remembering who's who, and they say as a writer your job is to be able to pull any line out of the script and be able to attribute it to one of the characters, and I thought you nailed this, and I think that starts with the writing. Can you talk about distinguishing characters in such a broad ensemble?
Well, I mean, I developed the characters separately, and when I ended up writing the movie, I wrote it, everything together. All the storylines, I would just go back and forth between them as I wrote. But the characters were all developed separately, and the way I developed them was basically having that they sort of had different levels of connection to people or wanting to connect to people, and so they all have different levels of that, and I play, and so that's how they're sort of that's how they clash against each other, even if their stories aren't connecting. But I mean, it was so everybody's a little bit different, and but I also wanted the feeling to be that even if a character has one line, that there's something that you feel like that person's a real person, or there's another story even going along with that. So I mean, there's so many characters in this movie that, I mean, there are many scenes, I don't even know. I mean, I know we have like maybe 40 speaking roles or 42 speaking roles, but, you'll just have people at the bodega or just having just these characters who come in and only have one scene, and yet they have some, I think the intention was to make them feel like all these people have different stories, all these people have different lives, and I wanted those things to feel inhabited.
So I know you have acting experience, you have an acting background. Do you think that's your actor instinct, wanting to service the people that you're bringing on set, knowing if you're going to only have 3-4 lines, I want to make them meaningful for you, not just boring, arbitrary lines to speak on set?
Well, sure, yeah. I mean, that could be part of it. But it's also just as the filmmaker. I mean, right. You do, I do also feel that way too. You don't want to waste actors' time,
right.
And you do want, and sometimes it's really precious for people if they've never been in a movie before and they are only getting 2 lines. I do respect that, and so I always want to give all the characters something. So.
Well, I think you did that beautifully in this movie, and it's something I want to applaud you on. Speaking of the movie specifically, one thing I loved about this movie was that it had like a very timeless vintage feel, but also a very like contemporary right now feel. Can you kind of describe towing that line, and was that a goal for you in developing the movie?
It wasn't necessarily a goal. It's funny because I'm just so, I think with this one, I was blindly, I'm not nostalgic necessarily. I mean, I actually as a filmmaker, I'm not nostalgic, so I didn't think about I didn't think about this analog stuff being nostalgic.
It's just analog, do you mean
well,
film,
like
vinyl?
I guess, I mean, we shot on 16, and then there's vinyl records in the movie, and Benny is a very analog kind of person, and the clock shop there's no digital clocks or anything like that, and all manual clocks. But yeah, there is all this analog stuff, and it is, yes, rubbing it up against very modern things. The teenagers being very modern to me. But truthfully, actually, it wasn't too intentional. I didn't think about anything being any kind of throwback or nostalgic. It's just that I'm attracted to those things, and I didn't. I don't think about. I didn't even. I was just told that there's like a vinyl record resurgence, and I should know that, but I don't know. I didn't even think about that too much, so I don't know that that's like a thing. So it's just that I'm attracted to those things. So it's not. It wasn't intentional being old and new together, and yet I did think about the movie in regards to characters being that way. In some ways, I mean, and we have for me, there's the Philip Baker Hall character, who's the oldest person in the movie, and then Tavi being the youngest person in the movie, in terms of main people. Those two characters sort of have a certain kind of relationship in the writing, at least, that I was definitely playing with in terms of new and old. But
yeah, let's go ahead and talk about Tavi's character, because I think for me, she was sort of the surprise of the movie. I thought she was wonderful. You mentioned having non-actors at the beginning. It doesn't seem like her background is in acting. Is that correct?
Well, she came up first through fashion blogging when she was 12 or something like that, and then she created Rookie Magazine, which is an amazing website for teenage girls, created by them. And I just became aware of her even when she was 12, I think, on a talk show. She's just a certain kind of prodigy or something. She's just brilliant. Acting for her is something fairly new, but she has a great handle on it. I mean, she did the Ken Lonergan play, This Is Our Youth, with Michael Cera also, and she was also in Enough Said.
That's right.
But she has the small role in that, a smaller role at least. No, but she's really decided to dedicate herself to acting in a big way. She's also a writer too, which she does the editor's letter on Rookie. So her writing is also very awesome. So she's like, to me, she is a writer and an actress, and more and more. I saw her in This Is Our Youth, and then after we shot, I saw her in The Crucible, and she was so amazing in The Crucible. a very good actor.
She was great, and you gave her some pretty challenging lines. I mean, the thing I loved about her character was, on some levels, she's kind of this precocious, wise beyond her years, talking about, deeply seated anxiety and kind of almost something existential. But then she's also like a teenage girl figuring out her sexuality and figuring out who she is. Did you write her kind of wanting to toe that line, do you feel?
Sure, yeah. I like what I like about teenagers in movies. And why they're such good material is that they are dramatic, and they are living a sort of dramatic life.
Mm-hmm.
So the things that Wendy, she's very concerned about the world, but she thinks she knows about the world, but she's still a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that kind of worldliness that she's still stuck in. She doesn't really know about the world. She just thinks she does, although she does in a way. But that's what's interesting. Teenagers are correct in their drama in a way, like, mm-hmm. and also incorrect. So I like the paradox of being a teenager, where your life is the most important thing. It is the most important. I mean, it's so important, and everything that's happened to you is so important, and all the relationships you're having are so important. But you don't know yet that they're really not that important, but you're also correct that they are important. So it's right. I like both those things, and that's what I was playing with.
It was really beautifully true. And it's funny because Wendy specifically kind of has that hipster element that I think people get so wrong in some movies, and I think she was subtly written and had this like earnestness beneath her defensiveness that I think really let her tell the truth in the movie, which I thought was awesome. So I have to applaud you on that storyline. I thought it was really, really nice. I kind of want to dive into all of these plots because they're so well integrated but also kind of exist independently. And I want to talk about Abbi Jacobson, Michael Cera, and Michaela Watkins because I'm big fans of all three of these actresses. And you mentioned at the top, interestingly, that you didn't necessarily know the big-name actors you'd be working with. So were these parts not written for Abbi, Michael, and Michaela?
No.
Cool.
The only person I thought of at all in the writing was Abbi, but I didn't think about her. I didn't think. I mean, she was somebody who was floating in my head, but I didn't write for her or anything like that.
Yeah.
So no, I had no idea who was going to be in the movie.
Well, it seemed like almost the parts were written for them. So it ended up, the casting worked out really well for you. Abbi Jacobson and Michael Cera's characters in this movie have such a fun relationship. I have to imagine that this plot started from the seedling of an idea of what would happen if we put an investigative reporter into a position who hates conflict. Was that the
That's sort of
for
it.
this?
Sure. I mean, well, yeah. I mean, I've had a lot of job. I mean, I think a lot of people have too. I mean, a lot of just you need money, so you just try to find something you can do, and you do really, things you should not be doing, and things you don't fit into.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. I mean, she's somebody who shouldn't, like she says in the movie, she just probably should stick to being a librarian. I think she's sort of, I mean, like, it sounds good to me. I would love to go. I mean, like, being a detective sounds awesome, or being a reporter sounds awesome. But I'm sure I would fail, and because I don't like conflict either.
Right.
So definitely that's where it's. I mean, yeah. So yeah, if you're a reporter, you've got to be comfortable with conflict, and she's not.
Yeah, this was a really, really fun subplot, and the casting of, basically for those who haven't seen the movie, Michael Cera and Abbi Jacobson are partnered for a New York publication to kind of uncover a potential suspect in this murder and learn about her role in the death of her husband. And you kind of get this wonderful New York elite upper class that's just someone. I've never even lived in New York, and I like totally recognized her. Like, she was someone who was totally her own thing but also very archetypal. Michaela Watkins embodied this perfectly. She plays that kind of like snooty but still present type of character. Can you talk about writing that character specifically?
Yeah, writing that character, I wanted you to suspect her, but still wonder if she had killed her husband. Yeah. But it's also just a fun. She's. I mean, to me, she's sort of living in a hall of mirrors in many ways. She's she's somebody who is very conscious of herself, and is acting a role that she's been, she's acting on top of herself. So, but that's it's just a fun melodramatic character.
Yeah, I loved her performance. Awareness and feeling under the microscope is obviously very thematic in the subplot involving this kind of sexting photo release. And this is, to me, the subplot that made me remember I was watching a contemporary movie, which I really liked. Can you talk about what was the inspiration for that subplot specifically? For those who haven't seen the movie, let me explain it really quick. There's a kind of on-the-rocks couple, and the male half of the couple releases intimate photos of his partner, which causes a really interesting turn of it. I don't want to give any more because the way that developed was very surprising to me, but talk about kind of the incorporation of sexting, and I guess it's not exactly sexting, but just intimate photos into this movie.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's in the, it's in the news, it has been in the news a lot. But it's funny, I started thinking about that and not, I wasn't thinking about the news too much, and then I started seeing the news a little bit more about it. So it's weird how I was developing that and not thinking of the two. I wasn't thinking revenge porn. It was just a storyline that I was developing, and then I realized it was this is because revenge porn, the term is not, it's not that, I mean, I don't know when it came around, but maybe 3 years ago or something like that. So it's a pretty brand new term.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, in this movie, it's somebody who's done that and knows he's made the biggest mistake of his life, and he knows he shouldn't have done it. I have a feeling probably most people who do revenge porn are. I mean, it's just I don't know who those people are or how it happens, and I think it's probably usually the worst thing somebody could do. And so he's done this, but he's also a very depressed and earnest person at the same exact time.
Yeah, earnestness and depression intersecting feels huge in this movie. To me, it was almost the thing that tied everyone. Were you interested in kind of exploring just the ennui of living in a city? I feel that's something very distinct to city.
Definitely, that's part of the movie for sure. I mean, I live that. So.
Right. I could relate to that for sure. The only subplot we haven't talked about yet was Benny Coopersmith, who's awesome. He seems like maybe a bit of a non-actor as well, or I don't know if he is an actor or not. He just had something that was so, I believed him right away. Can you talk about working with Benny? Because I know you guys have worked together before.
Yeah, he's an old friend of mine. We used to be roommates, and I made a short film with him. It's great to work with Benny. I mean, we're so close, and he's not an actor per se. I mean, he is an actor because he believes in the material. He can step into the thing and believe. I mean, he believes it more than a lot of other just normal actors because he doesn't know better. He believes he can really be there, and so when he's in a scenario, he's actually in the scenario. As a person, but it's great. I mean, I write. I mean, I wrote the part for Benny, and he's called Benny in the movie, as in the short film. I know that at least for now, I write for Benny so he can say the lines and doesn't have to stretch himself a little, into something that he's not. But yeah, he's a natural. I'm very happy that his charisma and his presence it's translated onto the screen. So
it was wonderful. He was very enjoyable. One of the major components of his subplot was this shirt. It's this recurring joke of is this the right shirt? Is this what I should have worn? Which first of all is so human, so I love that inclusion, but I'd have to imagine that was a big production choice. Can you talk about I don't know if that was a long time decision or how you actually chose these shirts?
The shirt that's in the movie.
Yeah.
Well, the costume designer brought me shirts, and I wheedled them down to 3 shirts, I think, maybe 4. But there was one in particular that I was pretty sure was the shirt. I said, I think it's that shirt. I'll decide in a couple days because Benny was going to shoot for another week and a half. And then one day, something happened. Somebody got sick, and in the middle of shooting, and we had to suddenly had to shoot Benny. And we hadn't shot him yet.
Yeah.
And we had to bring him in, and he suddenly had to be shooting his first scene. And so we're about to shoot it, and then we realize, wait a minute, we haven't actually picked the shirt, and we've got to shoot like in 10 minutes. Here come the 4 shirts, and the one shirt that I had picked that I was really excited about, we realized that there's this, well, no, she had already realized that the wardrobe person had realized that there was a stain on it, and that she couldn't get rid of it. So then suddenly I had to pick a different shirt of the other 3, and none of them seemed right. But then this one shirt that's in the movie, we put it on Benny, and it looked so wrong.
Yeah.
And it was a shirt Benny would never wear. And then that's why we were like, okay, wait a minute, we don't like it that much. Benny would not wear this shirt, so it's probably the right shirt, because the journey through the movie is getting comfortable with that. And so we will also be getting comfortable with this shirt. And then, it grew on us, so we love this shirt so much. But yeah, that was the choice of choosing that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So for those listening, Benny's subplot involves, he's a record store owner, and he finds out that somewhere in town there's this very, very rare vinyl called Bird Blows the Blues, which is, of course, Charlie Parker. And he goes on a quest to find that record. And I don't want to say how that unfolds, because there's a lot of wonderful surprises. But it sort of made me realize that music is a huge component to this movie. Can you talk about how kind of music operates in the film, and whether or not you're a musician?
I'm not a musician. The movie is full of soul music, I was listening to a lot of Charlie Parker when I was writing the Anthelonious Monk. When I was writing, but Benny is just soul is his favorite music. I wanted to use soul as a sort of a way to keep the movie consistent, and also because Benny's in some ways the heart of the movie, and in some ways somehow ends up being I mean, not in a literal way, or in the movie. He is sort of the string that ties things together in some ways. So the soul music operates as something to keep everything sort of going in together. But there's a lot of songs in this movie.
Well, not only that, but you use music to inform character, because I mentioned Abbi Jacobson and Michael Cera's character, but there's this whole funny thread about metal music.
Oh yeah.
This was so funny to me, and I just can you speak a little bit about why you chose that specific genre?
Well, yeah, Michael's character is, he's somebody, and I have this problem in a lot of people. I mean, you don't know what to do with your feelings of anger, or feelings, or just being unsettled in life. You don't know what to do with those feelings, and you repress them or you suppress them. And so that's what he's doing. I mean, I don't think he likes his job.
Right.
And I think he actually is somebody who has he's just uncomfortable with himself, and he's holding all these emotions back. And so one way he's found out an outlet for that in his life is to be in this metal band where he plays bass. And so yeah, he's making Abby's character listen to his band, his metal band, and then some other, and so that's his way to express himself.
Yeah.
Even and he loves it.
Yeah, it was such a fun quirk that I really enjoyed about the movie. I do want to talk a bit about production, because you said you shot this on film, so I'd kind of love to hear. I don't know, how long was your shooting schedule?
It was 20 days.
Okay, so that's pretty ambitious. I'm sure.
Yeah, it's very ambitious. Yeah, with in New York City with so many locations. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it cut together really well. Did you guys put a filter? I'm like, the look of the movie is so specific. Is that actually just because you shot on 16?
It's just because we shot on 16.
Yeah, I love it. It's like the melding of, again, like classic cinema and contemporary themes. It was so neat. Yeah, I'd say like fans of Woody Allen should definitely tune into a movie like this. It was really cool. So a 20-day shoot. Did you guys have any production emergencies or any interesting unforeseen?
I mean, there were lots.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really a hard production. I mean, there was a lot of fun. There were some days that were, I would say, okay and easy. And then we had, there were a lot of problems and a lot of.
Were there any hurdles that ended up enhancing the movie? Because sometimes I hear stories of directors saying, we didn't expect this, but it actually led to.
No, yeah, I don't think so. The movie was because we had the 20 days and we had so many locations and characters. It was so tight. There wasn't too much flexibility in regards to like that kind of thing.
Let's
I mean,
try this.
yeah. I mean, the movie's there's no improv, and I knew we had to plan it out. I mean, we didn't have time for anything, so we had to move from location to location. It was just there was no time for any kind of flexibility in those things. So I always had to know what I wanted and then get it. I wish, nothing. The things that went wrong didn't help.
Well, the nice thing is, as a viewer, I think it cut together really wonderfully. So I think you should be extremely happy with the result. So yeah, I loved this movie, guys. We've been talking about Person to Person with writer-director Dustin Guy Defa here in studio. I'd say for fans of Woody Allen, kind of small, likable indies, definitely check out this movie. It's great. When can they see it in theaters, Dustin?
The 28th, so
Great.
soon, yeah.
Awesome. Before we go, I'd love to talk a little bit about you. You came to this movie as kind of a multi-hyphenate. Can you talk about, we've talked a bit about it, but sort of being an actor, writer, director, and how that informs your process?
Yeah, well, I don't consider myself an actor. I mean, I like acting a lot.
You have acted in a feeture film.
Yeah,
Multiple,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, I mean, I've acted in a lot of Friends movies, and I don't pursue it. I don't necessarily. I enjoy doing it, but it's not my heart's not in it too much.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing. It's a healthy thing to do as a director and a writer, and an editor also. Actually, is to act. It gives you a different kind of perspective on acting, and I've realized how lost it can feel to be an actor. How you really need the director to help you.
Right.
So that's how it's helped me to know that often actors are coming in just completely sort of open or blind, and not knowing what and the director, it's good to tell, to communicate what you want.
Absolutely.
And if you don't know what you want, communicating that also and trying to figure it out together.
Right, absolutely, working together to kind of create something. This was adapted from a short, so I'd be interested to hear about your process from developing a short into a feature.
Well, actually, yeah, I never. It's just incidental, and so I never thought about the feature being adapted from the short or an extension of the short. They're just the feature actually was called something else, and it's now both of them being called Person to Person makes it seem like it was all intentional. The short does star Benny, and it is about records. So Benny's storyline in the feature is very similar. It is similar. It's got a similar vibe as the short film. But I always thought about them as completely different pieces, and it does, to me, is a completely different piece and feels very different. So, yeah, it's only because the title, mostly, and Benny, that it makes it appear that I extended the short or wanted to do that, but that's just sort of how that,
Incidental.
Yeah.
Very cool. One question I love asking writer-directors is, what's your favorite movie besides Person to Person that you've seen this year, or one of them that you would encourage people to go see?
Wow. What is that? I mean,
I'm sure you've been busy doing press.
No. I'm trying to. I mean, definitely a ghost story.
Oh yeah.
I know, but to see if I start, there's movies. They're all people that I know, so it's like But I can. Ghost Story is really great. I just saw The Little Hours a couple of days ago. That was great.
That looks so fun. I haven't
very
seen
fun.
it yet, but I love Alison Brie. Her turn and glow. I don't know if you've gotten a chance to catch.
Yeah,
yet
she's
on
great.
Netflix.
Yeah,
It's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, she's great. She's really funny.
Yeah,
she's incredibly funny.
It's kind of that earnestness you were talking about. I feel like she's got a lot of that in her performances, which I really appreciate.
Yeah.
Great. Well, both great movies. Thanks for bringing that up. And finally, what can we expect from you next? Obviously, you're doing press for this movie right now, but what's coming up down the pipeline? Anything else?
Yeah, I'm writing the next movie, which I hope to shoot. We hope to shoot in the spring, and it's different. I'm not talking about it much, but it's different from this movie. So.
Great. Well, if people want to hear more about that, they can obviously follow you on social media. Remind people where they can find you online to keep updates.
My name, Instagram, Twitter.
Great. So that's just so you guys know, kind of unconventional spelling. I'm with Dustin Guy Defa. It's spelled Dustin Guy, Guydefa. So that's Defa as the last name. But if you Google Person to Person film, you'll find it right away. And finally, just remind everyone where they can catch this film that I would highly recommend.
So we open up in New York and LA on July 28th, and then the following weeks we open in other cities. I know on the website of Magnolia Pictures you can find all the cities, and then we also open on the 28th. It's VOD also. So I think.
Have you seen it presented on a big screen yet?
Oh yeah, I mean
Okay.
yeah.
Nice.
I've been to a couple. Yeah, I mean Sundance, and then a couple other festivals, and yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a pretty surreal experience.
That's great.
To see.
Yeah.
Well, for those of you guys, I know it's been an interesting year, but Person to Person is a wonderful blend of kind of levity, but also thematic seriousness, which is just, I think, hard to find in movies these days. So it's not the kind of indie you go to and leave the theater feeling depressed. I think it's got kind of a lightness and a levity. So it's a nice, I'd say, antidote to some of the press we've been seeing this year politically, without getting too political. But Dustin, I can't thank you enough for being here today. I love the movie, and it's been an honor to talk with you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Absolutely. Just so you guys know, this has been iTalk Movies here on the Popcorn Talk Network. This is a series where we interview writer-directors about their work. If you guys want to find me online, you can do so at Jeffrey C. Graham. If you're interested in this kind of content, I host a show on Fridays called The Unproduced Table Read, where I and a group of 6 actors table read scripts and interview the writers about them. This Friday, we're reading kind of a satirical single-cam comedy called Suckers, about vampires. And I know I'm also feeling overwhelmed by vampire material, but this is a fresh take on the genre. So I highly encourage you to tune in. Until then, guys, my name is Jeff Graham. This is the Popcorn Talk, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.